Hey guys, it's Rustabout Collector here, and if you followed this channel for any amount of time, especially early on, you know that my channel did have a lot of videos focusing around bootleg, novelty, knockoff figures. I still love them, I still collect them to this day. This is one that I think was featured in one of the videos, but his arms have broken off without even, really messing with him. He's a very obvious, crappy knockoff of the Clone Trooper, the Antennae mold Clone Trooper. But recently, or more recently, I made a video discussing these three, well actually four, but the other one is, I couldn't find it for this video. But these bootlegs of the Antennae mold Clone Trooper had popped up on eBay and AliExpress fairly recently, and I picked them up, did a quick PSA expose type video about them and what to look out for when you're shopping around for Clone Troopers, because those four could pass as pretty good, representations of the original Hasbro figures, so someone could theoretically price them at Hasbro prices and rip you off with a fake knockoff. If you want to watch that video, it's linked right up here. It'll also be linked down in the description, just so that you guys can be informed when you're shopping around for Clone Troopers. Now that was that, or so we thought, but recently I came across 6 new clone variations online, popping up on AliExpress and eBay, and we gotta talk about them because I've already seen them being sold, or trying to be sold, as real official, quote-unquote, official Hasbro figures. And that's what I was really afraid of when I first saw these pop up. So in this video, I basically just want to go over what those new 6 variations are, even though only 3 of them actually came in the mail. I ordered all 6 in the hopes of just kind of documenting the differences and, the different bootlegs that are coming out so that people, especially collectors, can be informed. But only 3 came in, so I'm going to go over all 6 even though I only have 3, and hopefully it'll still be helpful. The first one that I came across was this Shock Trooper here. Unfortunately, I don't have an official Hasbro Shock Trooper, so let me just kind of do this. You'll have a comparison over here of the official Hasbro, and yeah, they're really close. I think the color is darker on this one. That's one of the biggest dead giveaways. Also, the lines are thinner on the bootleg version. Normally they'd be thicker, especially here on the shoulders, but that's not always easy to spot in a picture, especially when you're, say, buying these off eBay or something like that. As I mentioned in my previous video about these ones back here, the joints are really stiff and awkward. The hands fall out very easily, although not on camera, of course, but the hands do fall out very easily. The head widens at the base. You can kind of see how it starts to flare out as it comes down to the ball joint there. Here's an official Hasbro figure to compare it to. You can definitely see the difference in the base of that helmet. It flares out here and it just goes straight down on the official Hasbro one. Again, very subtle differences, especially on this figure. There are 2 that are coming up that were just released that are very easy to spot. And those ones, if you're trying to army build those, you'll have a very easy time spotting any bootlegs people are trying to sell. Also with these, if you try and, move the shoulder up or something like that, you'll start to tear the plastic. You can kind of see it there as well as right there. That's very common with these bootlegs. I'm not sure why. Something to do with the measurements just aren't quite right, so the shoulders dig into the chest plate. It happened with all of these back here as well. It's just a common trait with these bootlegs. It's easy to spot and test if you're holding them in person, but again, you're buying these in a lot off eBay or something, you're not going to be able to test them like that. Next up, you got the 442nd Clone Trooper. I forgot to mention, each one of these guys comes with a knockoff DC-15, as well as a DC-15 rifle, and an antenna, which the antenna is very dull, so if you get to see these up close, you can kind of tell the difference between the antennas, because an official antenna is glossy, a bootleg antenna is matte or flat black. Again, not easy to spot on a photo, but it's one of the variations that you can definitely spot in person. The biggest dead giveaway with this figure is that there is no weathering. Now, I don't have an official 442nd, but I have the next best thing. The Untitled Trooper by Hasbro was basically the same Clone Trooper, just with orange markings instead of green, and the weathering is basically the same. So the weathering on an official Hasbro figure should look like this. It is absent on the bootleg. Here is the official Hasbro release of the 442nd beside the bootleg, and you can clearly see the weathering should look like this, and it's not there. That is the biggest dead giveaway for this one, and it also segues us into the next variation, which I do not have in person. It's stuck in shipping limbo. It's the 212th. Same thing applies. This is the official Hasbro version. Obviously, it looks really nice, really cool. It's got weathering and everything. But the bootleg version, here's a picture of it, has no weathering, has really clean orange markings, and so those two, the 212th and the 442nd, are really easy to spot from a distance. Again, that's just these two, so the other ones are going to be a lot tougher to spot. And like I said, I've already seen all of these. Not necessarily those first four, but all the new 6 variations, the 442nd, Shock Trooper, 212th, and the other 3 that I haven't talked about yet. I've seen them all going up online as real official Hasbro clone troopers, and they're not. To an inexperienced collector, they'll buy those for full price, paying a premium for, clone troopers, and get them in hand only to find out that they are bootlegs. And there is a certain sense of deniability with it. This is an official Hasbro figure, and the next one we gotta talk about. On the bottom, you can see it says Hasbro, made in China, 2005, and wouldn't you know it, on the bootleg Shock Trooper, it has the same markings. So really, if you say to the seller, hey, you sold me a bunch of bootlegs, he's gonna look at the bottom and go, well, that says Hasbro 2005, so those aren't bootlegs. They are. They have the same markings because they're using the same molds as the official Hasbro figures, just with cheaper plastic, poor paint apps, and bad engineering overall because the joints are really stiff, they chafe and rip the rubber, the hands fall out. They're poorly engineered compared to a proper Hasbro figure. But they're very hard to tell the difference between, and so, a seller who may be dishonest, may not be, isn't necessarily going to admit that they're bootlegs because all signs point to them being official if you don't know the differences. The next one we gotta talk about, also one that I don't have in hand, is the 501st. The biggest dead giveaways with this one are the lack of weathering. As you can see, the Hasbro figure has light black scuffing all over the armor, and the bootleg one does not. The other thing is that I've noticed the blue seems to be pretty consistent on the Hasbro figure, like it's the same tone all the way down. On the bootleg, you don't really have that. It seems like the helmet and the torso vary slightly, so be on the lookout for that with those particular figures as well. And this one is probably the saddest of all because if you've watched my channel at all, you know I army build the 41st Landing Platform Clone Trooper, and wouldn't you know it, they made a bootleg of him. This is the official version. I'm sorry, I don't have this one in hand either. But there's really not much difference. You can see here's the bootleg version, here's the official version. Yeah, it's going to be tough to tell these ones apart from a distance, and I'm sure that people will be selling these as official 41st Landing Platform Clone Troopers when they really aren't. So yeah, just be careful. When I get it in hand, I'll try and do a real close comparison so that I can tell you guys some of the more intricate details that are different, but it's going to be tough to tell the difference on this particular one. Just like with the Shock Trooper, they are really, really close. And then for this final one, this is a really upsetting one because it's a kind of a rare, sought-after antenna mold clone trooper, but let's play a little game with this one. Which one's the bootleg? And you can put it down in the comments if you want. Which one is the bootleg? Left or right? Which one's the bootleg? It's this one. It's this one. You would be surprised since this one has a slight, this official Hasbro one has a slight paint defect there on his shoulder pad. But yeah, this is the bootleg. This is the Hasbro official one. The biggest dead giveaway is the helmet again. And it's not even that big of a dead giveaway. You can just kind of see from the shape of the helmet as it flares out at the bottom, whereas this one goes straight down. But I mean, if you look at these side by side, which one's the bootleg? You can't tell. And that's the real, I guess, danger here is for collectors, you're going to be dealing with trying to tell which one is which. This one, the only differences that I can really spot are minute at best. This one has a matte finish on the chin piece there, whereas the official Hasbro one has like a glossy glitter paint going on there. The bootleg manufacturer matched the glossiness on the pauldron, as well as the silver here on the pauldron chest piece, but this paint here is very choppy. It's got like specks and bubbles in it, so it's much more cheaply done than this smooth paint job here. Again, you have to look really close to spot that. The only other noticeable difference that I could spot was the line thickness on the biceps. The bootleg has very thin pinstripes. The official Hasbro version has slightly thicker pinstripes. And then here on the leg, the pinstripes look very similar. However, again, the official Hasbro one is slightly thicker, the bootleg slightly thinner, and also in a darker gray. This is like a weird greenish gray, and this is in more of a proper gray. So that could help you if you're able to compare them side by side like this. You could tell this one's darker and thinner, this one is lighter and thicker. But this is probably the closest bootleg I've ever seen, I've ever held in my hand, where you can't really spot the difference unless you can hold an official Hasbro one that you know is a Hasbro figure and one that is a knockoff that you know is a knockoff, and put them side by side. So this one is really, really close. I'm amazed, I'm really amazed that they copied even the shoulder pauldron. They didn't just, you know, take the pauldron off and make it a shock trooper but purple. They went the whole 9 yards, and that tells me that they're serious about copying the official Hasbro figures. They are very, very serious about making the bootlegs as near to the original as possible. So there you guys have it. I know it's not the most exciting and happy video. This is just more of a PSA informative video to say, here's what to look out for when buying on eBay, Mercari, AliExpress, any website. Don't buy clone troopers from a seller that is based out of China. That's a dead giveaway that they're probably bootlegs. And also just try and spot the differences. The ones that I saw that were being sold for Hasbro prices but were bootlegs, those were being sold from the US, so you just got to be careful. Anyways guys, I hope this has been helpful or even slightly informative, as you guys are, you know, like me, just trying to enjoy the collecting. These are, at the end of the day, just toys. They should be enjoyed and appreciated by everyone, and I don't really know if there's that much harm in their being bootleg. So I kind of go back and forth about the idea of, are these bad? Are these good? I don't know. If you're a new collector, say a young kid or something who wants to get a clone trooper army but can't afford to pay the insane prices of these early figures, then they might be okay with buying a lot of bootleg figures and just having those as their clone troopers. For serious collectors and the market overall, like the value of these figures, it's bad because, you know, people are going to try passing these off as official figures, and or even do so without knowing that they're not official figures, and that's really going to hurt the collector's market. So like I said, I kind of go back and forth with this. I definitely want new people, new fans, to get into collecting and enjoy and appreciate all of these fantastic figures that I grew up with. On the flip side, I also don't want to see cheap knockoff bootleg versions of the figures circulating in the market, because it kind of defeats some of the purpose of the collecting and, you know, getting the official versions of the figures. It just makes it more challenging and hurts the market value for those people that care about it. I collect for my own enjoyment, but at the same time, you know, if you're collecting these, you want them to hold their value so that you can maybe sell them later on when you become an adult or what have you. So I don't know. I guess that's all to say. I don't know. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are down in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. What do you think about these really accurate bootleg figures versus some of the jankier, you know, cousins, the weird cousins that sometimes doesn't get invited to parties? Those are the bootlegs that I really like. These bootlegs are a little bit, you know, I don't really collect these, but I am going to get one of every variation that they release. So like I said, let me know down in the comments, what do you guys think? Have you bought these to add to your army? Do you think that these should be, you know, removed from the market legally by Hasbro? Something like that. I'd love to hear from you. As always, there's a link down in the description to my social media. You can check out my Facebook, my Instagram, my Teespring. Also down there is my P.O. Box address. If you send anything in there, then I will do an unboxing on the channel. But as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I hope you guys have a fantastic evening, noon, or night. I'll catch you all in the next video.